I love you. Those were the words her husband whispered as he kissed her on her forehead before going to work. But as Amelia stared at the screen, her world shattered. She knew that her husband had looked her in the eyes and lied to her. He wasn't going to work, nor did he have any business meetings. He had changed into more expensive clothes and had gone to Bartholomew Hall, where he had proposed to Ashley, his first love, who was 8 months pregnant with his child. Tears blurred her eyes as her husband appeared on the screen with Ashley by his side, smiling, introducing her to the world as his fiancée, while she was left in the house, crying. And in lighter news, we're taking you live to Bartholomew Hall, where local business mogul Daniel Forbes is announcing his engagement to socialite Ashley Whitman. The words hit Amelia like ice water. Her knees weakened with the sudden news. Suddenly, the positive pregnancy report that she had received this morning felt cold, for she had discovered that her husband's mistress was 8 months pregnant, while she was 1 month pregnant. The realization hit her like a hard rock. 8 months. Ashley was 8 months pregnant. 8 months ago. That was when Grandma died. He'd left her alone in the house, draped in black, clutching pictures, weeping into the hollow spaces of their home. He didn't call, didn't console, nothing. He claimed he had some business meeting to attend to, and so he could not even come for her burial. Now she knew where he was. While she was crying, he was lying beside Ashley, making love and making babies. A humorless laugh escaped her lips as she dialed her husband's number, praying it was some prank. That Daniel Foe, who loved her dearly, would not leave her like that. He picked up after the second ring. His voice came out alive, calm, and romantic. "Hey babe, how are you?" he asked. Babe? He still had the guts to call her babe, after what he did. She tightened her grip around the phone as she spoke softly at first. "Tell me, Daniel. Tell me what I am seeing on the TV is not true," she asked. He remained silent for a moment, and then crushed all the hopes she had. "It's true, Amelia. Ashley is pregnant with my child. She is going to be a mom, and you will be a stepmother." A dark, humorless laugh escaped her lips. Tears rolled down her cheeks. It was crazy, the fact that he thought she would accept being a stepmother. "You cheated on me, Daniel. You got another woman pregnant, and you want me to accept being a stepmother, just like that?" she asked, her voice cracking. "Amelia, don't be dramatic. It's not like you can get pregnant. You have been dry for 5 years and you—" She cut the call, the weight of his words settling in her. "So he called me dry? He thinks I have been dry for 5 years, she thought. So all the sweet words he whispered to her ear, as she cried whenever his mom shouted at her, or called her a man, was pretense. He never loved her. He was just pretending. She gently lay on the cold tiled floor, her hands above her head, the congratulatory message to the latest couple playing in the background. She did not move. She was just too numb. She just sat down there, for some minutes, asking God why, and where did she go wrong. Then something snapped within her. She could still save her marriage. If she should go and tell him that she was pregnant, and that she loved him, he would reconsider her, and maybe push Ashley aside. She stood up and walked into their room, opened her wardrobe, and changed. She opened his closet to spray his perfume, when she saw something, documents, that made her body grow cold. Divorce agreement between Daniel Forbes and Amelia Forbes. On top of it was his wedding ring. Color drained out of her eyes as she picked up the papers and stared at it. The weight of her reality crashing on her. He even prepared divorce papers? She asked herself. That means he had lied to her. He did not want her to be a stepmother. He wanted to get rid of her. Under the divorce papers was another company paper. The new jewelry company they had both invested her $200 million inheritance into, the one he said would be for their family. The company papers were lying down there, only that her name was not there. It was Ashley's name. Her bag fell off her shoulders as she stared at the papers. How cruel can this man be? If he can change this new investment paper to Ashley's name, that means he could have also changed the other companies they had built together. She picked up her bags and ran to his study room. With shaky legs, she opened his drawer immediately and started looking at all the company's papers together, one by one, flying all the papers up and down. They all had Ashley's name, not hers, but her name. The betrayal hit her like a punch in her ribs. He had slowly replaced her. "Arg!" she shouted as she threw the paper on the ground. She picked up the small centerpiece on the table and threw it at the wall, watching it scatter into pieces, just like her life. And then, the next piece of furniture. By the time she was done, the room was fully scattered, filled with broken pieces. A resounding silence followed after the heavy crash. She wiped her tear-stained eyes. No, he can't get away like this. He can't toss her to the side and get to be happy. She knew what she would do. She would make sure he paid for all of this. Because the truth was that, when she met Daniel, his company was at the brink of collapsing. She was the one who used her grandma's money, her trust fund, her inheritance that was left to her. She used everything on him, and now that he had gotten somewhere, he wanted to throw her like some trash. She walked towards the door and paused. Her eyes caught sight of something. A cold black metal lying on the table. A gun. Her lips curved into a smile as she picked up the gun. A new mindset climbing into her head. She had made up her mind. Either she dies or she kills him herself. She got into her car and drove straight to the grand hall where the engagement was taking place. So many dignitaries filled the place, all of them congratulating the couple, something he never did for her. Instead, he hid her like some criminal, telling her that it would not be good if they found out he was married. It would affect his brand and their company, and she had foolishly believed his lies. But now she knew how wicked he was, how bad he was. His eyes fell on her immediately. She stepped in. His jaw clenched immediately. The smile vanished from his face. He whispered to Ashley. Ashley turned to her direction immediately and smiled. Ashley walked up to her and hugged her tightly. "I can't believe that you came," she said, smiling like they were longtime friends. The camera turned to her, flashing lights on them. "Friends, this is Amelia Stones. She is Daniel's friend, a longtime best friend. More like a sister. I am sure she had a crush on him," she exclaimed. "Right?" she asked Amelia with a fake plastered smile, her tone laced with excitement and yet a dare. She locked eyes with her like she was daring her to do something stupid, to expose them. Amelia smiled at her and turned to the cameras. "Yes, we have been friends. I even had a crush on him, got married to him, slept with him, and I am even pregnant with his child. I decided to attend my husband's engagement party to the woman he has been cheating on me with," she said, and paused, turning to Ashley as she eyed her up and down. "I wanted to see what he saw in her that made him leave me. And now—" "Amelia!" Daniel shouted. His angry voice filled the room. He walked towards us, taking 2 steps at a time. He glared at her, his eyes burning with anger. "What are you doing here?" he asked in a hushed whisper. She smiled and looked at him. "On, my loving husband. You look so dashing, more dashing than the way you dressed when you got married to me." "Amelia, get out of here," he said, glaring at her through gritted teeth. Amelia looked at him dead in the eye, her eyes filled with disgust, ashamed that she had actually fallen in love with someone like this. She plastered a fake smile on her face. "Why don't you tell the world what you did to me?" They would be so interested to learn. She paused and took a quick glance at the whole crowd. "Oh," she said, tapping her head slightly like she had forgotten something. "And I am pregnant," she announced. His face grew pale, his mouth slightly opened. "That is impossible," he whispered. Just as she opened her mouth to reply to him, a video of her in his bedroom trying to seduce him played on the screen. The video made it look like she was some desperate girl who was trying to seduce him while he refused. He tore his eyes from her and faced the crowd, a proud smile on his evil face. "Guys, please, I am so sorry for the interruption. The thing is, this girl here has always been obsessed with me, trying to get me to sleep with her, and I always refused." The crowd began to whisper around her, people casting disgusting looks at her. "This tape here was not prepared by me, but by her. She sent me this tape this morning and told me to leave my fiancé and be with her, or she would release this tape, so I decided to do it, before she did." The murmuring around her increased. Such a shameless girl. A woman who looked like she was in her early 50s said. People around her agreed. He turned to her with a smirk on his face. Anger boiled within her. She could not believe that he had kept this kind of tape with him for years. This had happened while she was still working as his secretary. 6 years ago. A bone-chilling realization hit her. It had always been a game to him. Nothing real. That is why he kept these things. As if that was not enough, he leaned slightly to her, whispering to her ear, his voice deep and low. "You see this nonsense that you tried. Don't do it again, and I know you can't be pregnant." He pulled back to see the effect of his words on her. "You know why? Because I never wanted you to be the mother of my kids. I slipped birth control pills into your smoothie every single day. That was why I did not miss it." "You thought it was all about love, right?" he asked. "No, it was not. You were just a means to an end," he whispered back, grabbed her hand slightly and pushed her. She staggered back, tears stood in her eyes, as she looked at the man she once loved. Her eyes moved to Ashley, who waved at her with a knowing smirk. Her world was crashing before her very own eyes, and there was nothing she could do. It was clear, it was a lie. He knew, and Ashley knew as well. Her seductive voice was still playing in the background as people looked at her. While she looked at the devil, she turned to walk away. After all, he had taken everything from her. "Learn how to close your legs next time," Ashley shouted after her. She paused. Everything went silent. The crowd murmuring stopped. An eerie sound played in her ears. She opened her purse, her eyes meeting, with the fully loaded gun. A smirk showed on her face as she turned to them. Daniel's eyes widened. He raised his hands slightly, but before she could say a word, she shot him twice. Daniel stumbled down, grabbing the place that was rushing with blood. The guards immediately covered Ashley. "Catch her!" she shouted. Amelia took a deep, satisfactory breath and with a last glance at his dying face, ran away. She got into her car, hearing the police sirens running after her, pursuing her from behind. She drove past different streets, trying as hard as she could to confuse them. Then she got to the bridge. As she was driving down, she saw some police cars running after her, coming from her front. She was already tired, her heart too heavy. She knew without doubt that she would be arrested, maybe sentenced to death. But why wait? Why not end it all now? It's not like she had anything to live for. All her life was a lie. She got out of the car. The police car sounded coming closer. She took out the gun, stared at the peaceful water. Tears running down her eyes as she pressed the gun to her head. At least she would be at peace. She would see her mom, her dad, and her grandma. But then the air at the back of her neck stood. Someone was behind her. Before she could say a word, she felt a little stab on her neck. Someone injecting her with something. Within a few minutes, her world turned black, as she slowly passed out. Meanwhile, as the police rushed to the place where her car was parked, ready to arrest her, something mysterious happened. Her car exploded, bursting into flames. They immediately concluded that she was dead. No one would be able to survive that incident. Daniel was rushed to the hospital, where he was fighting for his life, while Ashley sat beside him in shock, looking like she had underestimated what she could do. Amelia's eyes opened slowly. She scanned the whole room where she was lying down. It was a white room, with no piece of furniture, just a white bed and a white blanket that was covering her. She sat up almost immediately, her head banging with a serious headache. Where the hell was she? Then the memory came flowing. Daniel's betrayal, the gunshot, and then the chilling realization that she had been kidnapped at the bridge. Her heartbeat quickened. She stood up and ran towards the door, which was locked, banging it profusely. "Somebody help me!" she screamed at the top of her voice, hitting her hands on the door with both hands. The door creaked open. A man wearing dark glasses with a visible gun hanging on his trousers walked in. He looked at her. "Boss said I should give you this, and you should read it, to get a full grasp of who you are right now and what to do," he said, and handed her a folded newspaper. She looked at him, and then at the newspaper. She took it and flung it right in his face, the papers scattering in the air. "Who the hell are you and where is your boss, and why the hell are you keeping me here?" she asked, shouting. He stood there immobile, not saying a word, not flinching even when she hit his chest with her fist. "Take me out of here!" she screamed out loud. "You can't keep me here! I don't even know you!" "You should really read the newspaper," he repeated again, and walked out. "Ah!" she screamed, hitting the door, and when no one answered, she broke into tears. Why the hell was the world treating her so badly? The universe would have just allowed her to die. It would have been better. She gradually squatted on the floor, hitting her head on the door when her eyes caught sight of the newspaper lying on the ground with her face plastered on it. Mad ex-lover of Daniel Forbes, popular billionaire and tech mogul, dies in a car explosion minutes after she shot him. She crawled towards the papers like her life depended on it. Her heart raced as she snatched the paper, her eyes scanning through the whole page. Daniel was alive, and so was Ashley, and she had been painted as the immature, shameless whore who was running after him. Her photograph, an old one from a company party where she'd been laughing at something Daniel had said, was splashed across the front page. But it wasn't the Amelia she remembered. The caption underneath made her stomach lurch. Amelia Stone, 29, described by friends as mentally unstable and obsessed with her former employer, Daniel Forbes. Amelia's vision blurred as she read further. They'd painted her as a delusional secretary who'd stalked Daniel for years, who'd fabricated a relationship that never existed. Ashley was quoted extensively, her voice dripping with false sympathy. Daniel tried to be kind to her. Amelia's grandmother had asked him to look after her before she passed, and Daniel took that responsibility seriously. He gave her a job, tried to help her, but she became fixated. We should have seen the signs. The article went on to describe Daniel as a victim, a kind-hearted businessman who'd narrowly survived surgery after being shot by his unstable former employee. Ashley was portrayed as his devoted fiancée, bravely standing by his side during his recovery. Not one word about their marriage. Not one mention of her inheritance, her companies, her stolen life. Amelia was shaking so hard the newspaper rattled in her hands. They'd erased her completely, turned her into a footnote in someone else's love story. Even her name was wrong. They'd called her Amelia Stone, not Amelia Forbes, as if her marriage had never existed at all. As she was looking at the papers, the door opened again. A man walked in, wearing a black long-sleeve turtleneck and black trousers, his eyes hidden behind dark glasses. 2 guards stood at his back. He walked towards her slowly, calculatively, and bent down towards her. "You see your present reality, right?" he asked in a cold, sinful voice. How the world has turned a woman who had worked her ass off and built a dynasty with a man into an ordinary whore. Do you see how unfair the world is? He asked. He reached out to caress her face. She flinched immediately, jumping back slightly. How badly they have made you and your pain look. They turned your pain into some mental illness. What do you want? She asked, looking at him, beads of sweat on her face, her brown, wavy hair scattered. He took in a deep breath and removed his glasses. Her breath hitched immediately. One could say that he was handsome with his deep blue eyes, but the other one was closed, with some kind of cut in it. How did he get such a scar? He was a one-eyed man. You, he said. What? She asked, blinking. She had been too deep in thought. You asked me what I want, Amelia Stone. I said I want you, he announced again. She looked at him, jerked back slightly. You want me? For what? Why? She asked. He grinned slightly and stood up, walking slowly, turning circles around her. Well, see it as a business, a contract. I would help you get revenge on Daniel, and in return, you would be my... He paused and poised in front of her. In return, you would be my wife. What? Have you gone mad? Amelia scrambled to her feet, putting distance between them. What makes you think I would agree to marry you, and what makes you think I want revenge? I want you to let me go. And put you where? He asked slowly, cautiously. Where would I put you? Back on the bridge where you wanted to kill yourself, or your home, because, as we speak, if you come outside you would be arrested for attempted murder. Ashley has taken over your company. In fact, she is now referred to as Mrs. Forbes. Their wedding is in a month from now, and it is estimated to be a grand wedding, he explained and added, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper, giving her an option to think. And how sure are you that the people who exploded your car don't want you dead? He asked. Adrenaline flowed within her, chills licking her skin at his last words. The fact that if she had stayed in the car just a little longer, she could have easily exploded and died, sent shivers down her spine. It was clear that someone wanted her dead, and the person would stop at nothing to get that. He squatted close to her, his masculine scent filling her nostrils. Let's not forget that your grandmother did not die a peaceful death. It would be a sad thing if you leave this world while the person who killed your grandmother gets to live. She snapped her head, turning slightly to him. What did you just say? She asked. I said your grandmother did not die a natural death. She shook her head. Confusion mixed with frustration circled around her. What do you mean? My grandmother was sick. She has been sick, and she was going to die. No one killed her. No one would want to kill her. She snapped at him, even though her hands were trembling, her palms sweaty. Really? He asked. Then tell me, why did the doctor tell you that he is sorry she died? Sorry he gave you assurance? Because he thought she would live a little more? He turned to her. His one blue eye stayed on her body. And don't be that stupid. You can't tell me that your mom, who at her death willed to you $200 million, which you in turn transferred to Daniel to build his company. Don't tell me that no one would want to kill her. Yes, she might be nice. I was blessed to meet her, and she is a nice soul. He paused and opened his palm slightly. One of the guards lit a cigarette and placed it between his fingers. He inhaled for a while before he exhaled, the smoke hitting her. We can all agree on one thing, Amelia. Your grandmother's death might have been the worst day of your life, but that event was the same thing that made Daniel rich. How sure are you that... No, he won't do that. She loved him and you loved him too. Most people love Daniel because of his charming personality. You willed your whole life to him, and yet he still left you to die, he retorted. A guard walked towards her and played a recording for her. Amelia watched in horror as a man approached the bed, syringe in hand, and injected something into her grandmother's IV line. Her grandmother's eyes widened for just a moment, not in pain, but in recognition, in betrayal. Then she was gone. However, she noticed the face of the man. He took her to work every day and brought her back. It was Collins, her driver and Daniel's longtime staff. A cold shiver ran down her spine. Tears stood in her eyes as she covered her mouth with her trembling, shaky hands. She looked at the stranger before her, and then at the video again. "He did it?" she asked, her voice breaking. "He killed my grandma. But why? Why?" Her voice cracked as she broke down into fresh tears. He walked towards her and sat beside her. He caressed her shoulders and brought her head slowly to his chest. "It will be all right," he whispered. She stayed there, not minding if she was crying on a stranger's body. She was too weak to think, too weak to even breathe. Daniel had not only played her, he had killed the only parent she had, and he knew how much she loved her. He knew she was her life. Yet he sent Collins to kill her and still laugh at her jokes. How cruel can he be? "You can keep on crying on my shoulders, Amelia. I would be by your side all through. Or you can agree with me. Come with me and I would make him pay," he whispered softly as she rested her head on his chest. Her eyes dried. "I would make him beg you, Amelia. I would punish him, make Ashley regret ever trying to kill you. I would make him burn. You just have to agree to be mine, Amelia. Just accept my proposal." She remained still for a while, wondering if she was doing the right thing at all. She did not even know this man, but somehow, she felt comfortable around him, especially after he allowed her to cry on his shoulders. She pulled away and looked at his blue eyes, and then his other eye. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. He shrugged. "Well, let's say I am repaying someone a favor." She furrowed her eyebrows. Who could this old friend be? "Thank you. Caden," he completed. "Caden Lockwood." That name sounded so familiar, yet dangerous. She had heard the name before. She had seen that name somewhere else. She did not just know where and when. She heaved a sigh, cleaning her tear-stained cheeks. If he could help her get revenge, then fine. She would do it. She would destroy Daniel and Ashley, make them burn so hard for what they did to her, for how he snatched her grandmother's wish, which was to carry her own great-grandchild. If it meant marrying a one-eyed monster, then so be it. She turned to him, hands stretched. She had had enough already. "Fine, it's a deal." He narrowed his eyes slightly, taken aback by her sudden decision. "A deal?" he asked. "To marry a one-eyed man who kidnapped you?" She nodded her head slowly. "Yes, if it means getting my revenge, I would marry the one-eyed man." His grin deepened. He looked at his guards and then at her, took her hands with a smile. A deal. For the next 2 years, Amelia went undercover. Immediately after she signed the contract with Caden, he immediately drove her out of America to Italy. That was where she stayed for the next 2 years, in an old vintage house that was surrounded with guards. They had become friends though, but somehow she still did not know anything about Caden. He wore a suit, kissed her on her forehead, and left her in the morning and came back at night. Sometimes he would disappear at night and come back the following morning. The warm look was still in his eyes. Sometimes he would reach out to touch her face, and as if he was caught back in the act, he would drift away. He claimed that he respected her too much to do such a thing. Besides, he was under an oath by someone not to touch her, and whenever she asked who the person was, she got no answer. However, at exactly 2 years of her stay in Italy, the answer came knocking on her door. She had woken up to the loud voice of 2 men shouting at each other. Amelia quickly realized that one of the voices was Caden's own. The other one sounded familiar, but she did not know who the person was. She stood up and quietly tiptoed to the door. She pressed her ear firmly against the door to hear everything. "You think you can just disappear? Change your name and that is all? Like it or not, Damien, you are still a Forbes, and would forever be one." The mysterious voice snapped. "It is Lockwood," he bit out. My name is Caden Lockwood, not Forbes anymore. The other man let out a humorless laugh. Oh really? He asked, his tone mocking. You think changing your name makes you any less of a coward? You and I both hate them, but erasing yourself? That's my weakness, Caden, and weakness is not what you are. Amelia's hand trembled on the doorknob. She pushed it open slowly and froze. Her eyes widened. The man standing before her was supposed to be dead. She remembered the announcement like it was yesterday. His car accident, the hushed whispers, the tears shed in the Forbes household. Yet here he was, alive, older, real. Uncle, she whispered. Her gaze snapped to Caden, the man she had lived with, trusted, leaned on. The man who had become her savior. Her heart stopped. If this man before her was Uncle Adrian, then who exactly was Caden? Amelia, Adrian greeted warmly, walking toward her with a smile, his arms wide. How are you? And how is my niece? She blinked rapidly, her breath catching in her throat. Is this really you? He chuckled, the same chuckle that once filled Daniel's suffocating house with light, the same chuckle that comforted her when no one else had. Yes, Amelia, it's me, Uncle Adrian, Daniel's uncle. Tears welled in her eyes. She hugged him tight. Adrian had been her only ally in that house, her shield against Daniel's cruelty and his mother's venom. I missed you, she murmured, voice trembling. I cried so much when you were gone. Daniel drained me. He even wanted to— I know, Adrian said softly, with a knowing smile. That was why I sent his stepbrother to save you. Amelia froze, pulling back. What? Adrian gestured toward Caden, who stood motionless, eyes downcast, fists in his pockets. Meet Damien Forbes, Daniel's stepbrother, the one the world believes died 7 years ago. Her heart lurched. Caden, she breathed. Tell me this isn't true. He stayed silent. Answer me, she screamed, pounding on his chest. Are you his brother? Did Daniel send you to destroy me? Caden flinched, but his voice came out steady. No, he didn't send me. Adrian did. Amelia's knees went weak. She turned to Adrian, voice breaking. Uncle, what is happening? Adrian guided her into a chair. Caden sat silently beside her. I knew they would try to kill you, Adrian explained gravely. The Forbes family, they are desperate for power. You were never safe. That was why I sent him, to make sure you survived. Her brows furrowed. But how did you survive? You were supposed to be dead. Caden's voice cut through the room. I saved him, just like I saved you. 2 minutes before the car exploded, I pulled him out, and we vanished. Amelia clutched her chest, trying to process everything. But why me? She whispered. Caden's gaze flickered with something unspoken. Because he told me to protect you, that was the plan. A new city, a new name, a new life. But when I saw you, I couldn't let you go. Her throat tightened. She looked between them, confusion clouding her every thought. Adrian's jaw hardened. It was Daniel, he revealed. He tampered with my brakes. When he learned I survived, he sent a bomb, just like the one in your car. Her heart stopped cold. Adrian's one blue eye glimmered with fury as he leaned in. Tomorrow, Amelia, we return to America. You will be the new CEO. Together, we will burn everything Daniel and Ashley have built. The room was silent until the creak of the upstairs floorboards broke it. Mama, a small voice chirped. Amelia's head whipped around. Annabelle, her little girl, standing at the balusters with tousled hair and sleepy eyes, Benita hovering behind her. It's okay, baby, Amelia called, forcing calm into her trembling voice. Mama's just talking to some old friends. But Annabelle's eyes lit up at the sight of Caden. Papa, she squealed, wriggling free from Benita and racing down the stairs, straight toward the storm brewing in the room. Papa, she squealed, launching herself into Damien's arms, her 2 teeth showing. How is my princess? He asked, as he carried her, tickling her. Fine, she replied, and reached out for his face, caressing his closed eye. Amelia did not know this yet, but if there was anyone that Caden would burn the world for, it was this little girl on his lap. She looked at him, even with his eyes, as her hero. The way she playfully caressed his closed eyes, smoothing every scar or pain he had. Adrian stood up and walked towards her. "Hello, little princess," he said, smiling. Annabelle looked at him, and then at her father. "Fine," she shouted childishly. When Adrian opened his arms to her, she leaned towards him, smiling. "She looks so beautiful," Adrian said, looking at her as she played with the gold chain on his neck. "Yeah, just like her mother," Caden replied. His eyes rested on her, his voice low, filled with uncertain emotions. They locked eyes, staring at each other, before she drifted her eyes and turned to her baby. "So no hug for me?" she asked, pouting. "No hug for Mummy?" she asked. "Sorry, Mommy," Annabelle shouted. Adrian put her down and watched as she ran towards her mum, laughing. "I love you, Mummy," she said, and wrapped her arms around her mother's neck. They both smiled at them. Amelia gave one last glance at them and carried Annabelle away from the room. Meanwhile, in America, Damien soon realized that he had, in the process of chasing after Ashley, his first love, lost a rare gem. The fact that she had died in that explosion pained him more than anything else. He could not believe that she was gone, just like that. He was uncertain who planned the accident, if it was his mother or his wicked girlfriend. He knew that her death was not an ordinary one. Still, Amelia's ghost haunted him more than anything. The company was falling down, with no one to give him original, good advice. Ashley spent the company money, buying cars, month after month, while his mom had soon become a vlogger, a luxury, stay-at-home vlogger, who made sure she had the latest designs. He was like someone drowning, in the middle of a dark sea, at night, without knowing a way out. The first bombshell came when he received a package from an unknown source with the exact copy of the agreement he had signed with Amelia's grandmother, an agreement which he killed the woman before she had the opportunity to know about. He also killed the lawyer who knew about the incident, but somehow, someone still knew about it. Who could this be? He soon began to have an affair, outside, with a girl named Haley. He was in Haley's bed when he got a mail. All executive members are to assemble in the office within the next 30 minutes for a compulsory meeting. Signed, the new CEO. He sprang up immediately, cleaning his eyes, to make sure he was seeing correctly. New CEO. How? Or was this Ashley's scheme now, before he could dial his mum's number? Ashley called, panic filling her voice. "Daniel, did you see the email? Was it you?" she asked. "No, I thought it was you," he replied. If it's not you, if it's not Mum, that means we might have been," she shouted. "We need to be there right now, before things get bad." He sprang up immediately, picking his clothes from the floor. "I have to go," he said, kissing Haley. He met Ashley at the door and panting heavily. They looked at each other. "Any news?" he asked, as he buttoned his shirt. "No," she said, following him. He walked into the conference room, ready to shout at the person who dared to overthrow him. When he paused, color drained out of his eyes, he took a good glance at the place. Everyone was as surprised as him. His mum was standing beside Amelia, the same woman who he thought was dead. His gaze landed on the man at the left side, Damien, and at the right side, a hard punch to his stomach. Uncle Adrian sat there, with a smirk, a little bit older, but alive. Ashley rushed in seconds later. "What the hell?" she muttered, as she took in the situation. "This is impossible," she said, her voice shrill. "She's dead. We all saw the explosion. The police confirmed that a car exploded, Caden said calmly. They never found a body. You are late, Amelia said, her voice cutting like a blade. She turned to him. Why, if I may ask? Daniel, she called, her voice crisp. She pointed at the chair at the very far end. That's your seat. You would be the head of marketing. If you show good behavior, you would be made the head of sales. Daniel blinked hard, the reality hitting him. He cleared his throat. Who are you? And what the hell are you doing here? Who made you the new CEO? He asked. She smiled, turned to him, taking in his appearance from his head to his toe. I did, Uncle Adrian answered. Daniel turned to him. How, if I may ask? He placed a document on top of the table. As you know, Daniel, Adrian began, this company was a family company, and as you know, I own 60% of the company, he said. He placed another paper on the table. This, as you know, is your father's will, where he willed 70% to Caden, and then 30% to you. Because of course, he knows how dangerous you can be. A will you killed Damien, now known as Caden. He paused, and cleared his throat. Ladies and gentlemen, Uncle Adrian addressed the room. I believe most of you remember my nephew, Damien Forbes, the rightful heir to Forbes Industries. The silence that followed was deafening. Daniel's mother, Eleanor Forbes, spoke first. This is preposterous. Damien died 7 years ago. We buried him. We mourned him. You buried an empty coffin, Uncle Adrian replied smoothly, just like you planned to do with Amelia. Amelia took her seat at the opposite end of the table from Daniel, positioning herself so she could see everyone's reactions. Several board members were whispering urgently to each other, clearly recognizing that the power dynamics in the room had just shifted dramatically. I don't care who you think you are, Daniel said, his voice rising. This company belongs to me. I built it. I saved it from bankruptcy. You can't just walk in here and... On a company built on murder and theft? Amelia interrupted. You're right, Mrs. Forbes. Those people deserve better. They deserve honest leadership. She stood, commanding the room's attention. Which is why I'm not here to destroy Forbes Industries. I'm here to save it. I will be your new CEO. And Caden... She paused, turning her eyes to him. He would be my partner. Daniel remained silent. His mum, silent. Ashley spoke. What position will I occupy here? This is also my company. My brand is built on this. What will happen to me? She asked. Amelia turned to her with a smile. Look at a mistress talking. Well, you will not be a member of the board. You cease to be a member of the company also. You can continue being at home. She paused, her smile bright. And all contracts with your brand come to an abrupt end. We will find someone else. She pulled her eyes from them and turned to the board of directors. Anyone else? She asked. Get out, she ordered, turning to Ashley and his mother. Get the hell out of here, before I throw you out myself. They stood there, frozen. Daniel walked out first, slamming the glass door behind him. His mother followed. You will regret this, you ungrateful bitch, Ashley shouted. She knocked her knuckles on the table before storming out. Amelia smiled. Her eyes moved from Caden to Adrian. Now that they have gone, does anyone have any objections? Anyone who wants to be with them? She asked. They shook their heads, one after the other. Good, she said, and commenced the meeting. On the other hand, Daniel was pacing with fury in his sitting room. He walked around, kicking the chairs. Fuck, he shouted, running his hands through his hair. I thought she was dead, Ashley whispered. It did not make sense to any of them, that she was alive and well, that she could live. Your uncle died 4 years ago, and Caden 7 years ago. How did they live? How on earth did they save that bitch? His mother asked, her voice dripping with disdain. I don't know, Mother, she must have played us, Ashley muttered, running her hands through her hair, her makeup washing from the heat of the tension. We need to end them, his mother hissed. We can't allow them to take over. I will not allow that bitch to take over my office. My home. I built it, and I will not let it happen. All this while, Daniel was pacing, drowning himself in guilt. Not for Amelia. He liked her, but not that much. He only ever saw her as a means to an end. But the guilt was eating him alive for Uncle Adrian. The uncle he loved so much. The uncle his mother had killed. Before he could say a word. He hadn't even known about it. Until he overheard her talking to someone. Along with this guilt came fear. He knew that Adrian was dangerous. Yes, he was friendly with the people he loved, but he was dangerous. He had been by his side while he looked at someone and shot them in the eye, because they had tried to hurt his brother. He was warm to those he loved, and cold to the unfortunate souls that fell into his trap. And now he had become one of the unfortunate souls. What do we do? Ashley asked Daniel, drawing him from his thoughts. He paused and turned to them. We do nothing, because if we do something and Adrian strikes back, it would hurt you badly. Mom knows how dangerous that man is, and he came back for revenge. So we halt, till we find a way out, he ordered, before walking out. His mom left later, but Ashley could not stay. She refused to go down and say nothing. She did not come back, and stuck with Daniel, just to let things go like that. She had lost her child, just for her to go down with him. Immediately Daniel drove out. She dialed Dimitri's number. She tapped her toe, impatiently waiting for him to pick. She was unsure if he would even bother to pick, especially with the fact that she had abandoned him after the death of their child. He finally picked, his voice low. Ashley, is this really you? He asked. She cleared her throat, playing a low, small voice, just the exact tone she usually used to get him to do anything she wanted from him. Baby, I am so sorry, she apologized, sniffing loudly. Sorry? Ashley, he snapped, voice sharp. I lost my child to your games. I lost my peace. He paused, shaking with anger, then added, I even lost you, the love of my life. Do you know how miserable I have been because of all this, and you think sorry would solve it? She heaved a long sigh. Babe, I had to stay away. Besides, I knew you would want some space too. That is why. I am sorry, she said. A long silence fell. He stared at her. What do you want? He finally asked. I want you to get revenge for the death of our child, she said, her voice low and icy. I want the people who killed our child to burn. He chuckled slightly, bitterly. Forgive me, maybe I am having amnesia, but you said the baby died because of some health complications. Exactly, she exclaimed, sitting on one of the brown sofas in the living room, sipping wine. It was because of Amelia, and now she is back. She shot Daniel, and tried to shoot me. I thought she was dead, and now she is back, she complained, sniffing, feigning tears. What do you want me to do? He asked, voice hard. I want you to kill her, make her suffer, make her cry. For even doing what she did to me. Okay? She demanded. Fine, he said, a dark grin spreading across his face. But remember, you would have to pay me, Ashley. I miss your body. Be at my room by 3 tomorrow. I would make it worth it, he added, grinning from ear to ear. Okay, she whispered, cutting the call. She heaved a sigh, sipping her wine, a small, satisfied smile playing on her lips. If there was one thing she loved about herself, it was her ability to manipulate people, to make them think she was on their side. That was why she had purposely taken so much hard liquor and drugs to flush the baby away, because she feared the baby would be born, looking exactly like Dimitri, and that she could not bear. Amelia, on the other hand, has occupied herself with a lot of work, trying to get acquainted with the place, with the transaction and everything. Yea, she saw some difference in the finical record, but she would catch up with that later. For now, she needed to be stable. She closed off from work and came home to meet Caden playing with Annabelle, watching her draw a duck again and again. "Mommy!" Annabelle shouted immediately she stepped in, running to meet her with her little Lees. "Oh, my princess," Amelia whispered as she hugged her, kissing her cheeks. She hugged her again, sniffing in her bay scent. This place, Annabelle felt like home to her. "How are you? Did you miss Mummy?" she asked. "Yes, I did, but Daddy has been playing with me," she answered, and ran back to her drawing to pick her books. "I drew a duck," she shouted, showing her the drawing. Amelia smiled. "Good. I am so proud of you." Caden stood up and walked towards her. His eyes rested on her own, heat spreading around her. He had the same intense look like he had on certain days where he allowed himself to show how much she meant to him. "Welcome back," he said, wrapping his arms around her waist, drew her closer, kissing her forehead. She smiled. "Thank you," she answered. "Are you okay?" he asked, staring at her to make sure she was not lying. She smiled. "Yes, I am fine. Work went well, no one disturbed me," she answered. He nodded. "Good, but don't get used to it. I am sure they would be planning something serious," he said. She pulled back, the heat between them feeling uncomfortable. "I will not do that," she assured him. She picked up Annabelle and walked upstairs, still feeling his eyes on her back. For a week, peace was in the house. Everything looked normal. Daniel, Ashley, and his mother had not said a word. It was beginning to make Amelia feel like they were planning something big. And they were, actually planning something big. Just that they were not united. Daniel has his own plan, Ashley had her own, and so did his mother. However, Daniel did not wait for long before he played his cares. That day, she had called a meeting for all the staffs. Caden was not around, neither was Adrain. They both claimed that they had things to settle, things that would be better if she knew nothing about them. Daniel barged into the office, panting heavily. He walked towards her, glaring at her. "You thief! I knew you had something hiding. I knew that you were not the Amelia you claimed to be. You are someone else," he shouted. Amelia leaned back into her chair, aware of the eyes on her. "And who am I?" she asked. "A liar, an imposter. You are not my ex-wife. You are not Amelia Stone. You are someone who has been making us look like a fool. I know who you are. What did you think? That you would be able to deceive me, Ashley, Caden, and Uncle Adrian? Well, you lie. Because I have traced your files. I have seen the money you have been secretly extorting. I have the papers." He screamed at her face. He turned to them before she could say a word, turning on the projector, showing different fake receipt that had her name. One of $50 million from the company purse. "This is fake. I would never do such a thing," she retorted, trying to defend herself. "Well, you would explain that to the police," he said. She stood up, but before she could say a word, the policemen walked in. "Mrs. Amelia Stones, you are under arrest for embezzlement of the company fund." She stretched her hands as they handcuffed her and led her out of the office. She stayed at the back of the police van, wondering how the hell did he find such papers? How dare him forge such papers and blame her for it? Her eyes scanned the van that was taking her to the station and paused. There were 3 guns lying there. No one was with her. The 2 other police vans that had been following them were nowhere to be found. And from the whole, the men driving her were not policemen. They did not have the police uniform. Cold dread licked her skin as she pounded the door. "Let me out!" she screamed. They ignored her, driving down a lonely path. Reality hit her like a hammer. Everything was fake. The papers, the policeman. She had not been arrested. She had been kidnapped. "Where are you taking me?" she whispered. Silence. The car screeched to a stop. a gunshot, and then another. Amelia's blood turned to ice as she felt a body slump. The door opened. A shadow leaned in. Her breath caught. "Benita!" Amelia gasped. Relief and confusion warred in her chest. "Thank God! Help me! These men—" But Benita only smiled, a slow, unsettling smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I will help you," she said, stepping closer, wiping blood from her hands on leather trousers. "But it won't come the way you want it to." Amelia's heart slammed against her ribs. "Benita, what are you doing? What?" Benita leaned close, lips brushing her ear. "That is for my master to decide." The world spun, her knees buckled, and just before blackness swallowed her, she heard Benita's final whisper, colder than death itself. "Sleep well." And that's it for today's story. If you enjoyed watching, don't forget to like the video. It really helps the channel grow. Make sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. I'd also love to hear your thoughts. What part stood out to you the most? Drop a comment down below. I read every single one. And if you think someone else would love this story too, share it with them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.